Welcome to Homeowners for Justice and our workshop today, Analyzing Recorded Documents. Hi, this is CJ Holmes. I'm a founder of Homeowners for Justice, a licensed real estate broker, and I'm bringing to you free guidance to the best of my knowledge on how you can look at your documents and discover what the banks have been doing that might be hurting you in a foreclosure process. Before we continue, I just really need to show you this legal disclaimer. I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA, I'm not a loan modification expert or securitization auditor. I am a licensed real estate broker. I do the very best I can to bring information to you that is useful, but I don't provide legal, tax, loan mod, securitization advice, and I cannot guarantee the effectiveness of any of these strategies. Nobody can. We are battling against businesses that use fraud as a business model, and it is unpredictable what we will face. We can only do the best we can, and right now those strategies center around proving beyond the shadow of a doubt and in massive numbers of many owners, millions of owners, actually going to their documents and saying, look, you forged this signature, this notarization is false, this title is fake. I know that because I've gone through my documents and I can prove that this is true. When we plaster the planet with this information, I believe that people may be able to shift the political winds in their favor. But that's what I'm afraid it's going to take. And I also want to point out that both this live stream, I'm doing it right today, end of February 2013, but both the live stream and the website, the information that we have, is constantly being revised. We're constantly gathering more information, coming up with something better, making changes on the website. So please understand that content may change without notice. I will try to keep the uses, the documents and spreadsheets that we're using up to date. In other words, in the name of the document, I'm going to start putting the date, like I did yesterday. I talked about the qualified written request with the date. So when you pull up the document, and if you save that on your computer, save it with that date. That way, if you go back to the website and you see it's a new date, new document, you might want to review and see what changes were made. I will do the same with this spreadsheet and anything else that we provide for users to actually use as an editable product, a document or a spreadsheet. Now, today we're talking about the document analysis. How can I understand what documents I want, how it works, and explain to me, please, what you mean when you say a fake title or an impossible beneficiary designation. So the very first thing we're going to do, the process is pretty simple. You get the documents from the recorder's office or the registrar of deeds, if you're in a mortgage state, a judicial state, deeds of trust, non-judicial, and recorders' offices sort of go together. You look at the spreadsheet, fill it out with the information from your documents, and then you identify the violations. We're going to go through this step by step so that you'll feel more comfortable with it. I want to point out here on my website how to start this strategy. Again, if you go to foreclosure defense, the very first page, foreclosure defense page, which is right here up on the screen, and scroll down, the defense we're talking about, the strategy today, is number 4. And again, it may change, but at this point, it's number 4, where you get the copies of foreclosure documents when they're recorded and analyze them to start fighting back and building a case. I want to again reiterate that most property owners in the country will not have any of these assignments or trustee substitutions, which are only, by the way, recorded in deeds of trust, non-judicial states. Mortgage states do not have trustees, so you will never have a trustee substitution in those states, but you will have assignments, and you will have default paperwork. But none of those things are typically recorded until the notice of default is filed or it's a default lawsuit. In a mortgage state, a judicial state, they file lawsuits. So until that's filed, they probably won't file any assignments. I know that in the deed of trust states like ours in California, literally within 2 or 3 minutes, and you can see that on the recorded documents, you will have the assignment, the trustee substitution, the notice of default, boom, boom, boom. When that happens, that is when an owner can run to the recorder's office and use this strategy. So what we're going to do is basically explain very simply how the process works, and then I have a sample. We're going to go through an example. It's an actual real example, but I've redacted personal information. Here, by the way, is the link to the editable spreadsheet, and on this spreadsheet, which is XLS format, I want you to Excel format. I want you to understand that the first sheet on that is blank for you to use. The second sheet is the completely filled out example we're going to use today. So hopefully you can look at that and do this workshop again and again if you have some misunderstanding until it makes sense to you. I'm doing everything I possibly can to make it sense. On the PDF file, this one, it is just the filled out sheet. That way you can see the filled out sheet. You can take a spreadsheet of your own. Maybe you don't have Excel. You have some other spreadsheet software. You can set it up as a lookalike. It's a very simple thing to do. It just labels the information in columns. We don't even use formulas. It's not important. You could do this on a piece of paper, but I found that the spreadsheet helps me work much better and faster and keeps it organized and straight. So the process is straightforward. You get the documents, you fill out the sheets, and then you identify the violations. Now, before we start in exactly going through the example, I want you to understand that the end result, so we get the information, what are you going to do with it? That's always been my point. How does this information help owners stop foreclosure and keep their house? That is the point. Eventually, maybe get some restitution. So this is how we're going to take this information from today, and in the next couple of workshops we're going to show you how you can build this case. So today we're going to actually identify what signatures we're talking about on the documents. The future workshops, the one on notary complaints, filing journal entries, getting notary oath signatures, that's going to be under the notary complaint workshop. And then the owner's statement, that's going to be under filling out the owner's statement of suspicious documents. And that is the end result. We want that document which packages the documents, the recorded documents, all the facts that you found on those, all the information you've gotten back from suspicious signatures and notary complaints, all the information from your qualified written request, all put together and sent out to your local officials. Send me a copy. I will funnel it to the state grand juries. I'm working to get every state in the union to start a statewide grand jury investigation on the fraud and forgery practices that these banks were told, and they agreed to stop doing. They agreed to stop doing it in 2011 with the OCC, came down with a cease and desist orders to the 11 banksters. They did not stop. In 2012, the Department of Justice came down with consent judgments. The bank said, I will stop. They did not stop. That is the point. And what I'm telling you is, obviously, our regulatory agencies and our federal government cannot stop the banks. It's up to us. And we can do it because we've got millions of people that can rise up, do this, and say, truly, cease and desist, and we're going to criminally prosecute you. That's where we're headed. And so then when I say here, media, I'm going to be advising that you redact. You take your statement and then you white out all the personal information for yourself and send it to the media, because they don't need to really know you. What they need to see is all the forged signatures, all the fake titles, everything we're going to discover today. So here we go. When we start analyzing documents that have been recorded on your property, you may have a zillion documents. The only ones that count, the only ones you need to really focus on for this effort, are all of the documents after the deed of trust that you signed or the mortgage that you signed that is now being foreclosed on. And I want to show you a quick example. The fact is, here's just an example of some documents that I've done on a property where and we'll be going through a spreadsheet so that you understand what we're looking at, but in general we have a deed of trust, and then they have these substitutions, notice of defaults, and in this case this property was sold. There's a trustee's deed on sale. But look at all the documents that don't count. All of these documents are on record. It's still same property owner. The property owner, borrowed money, refinanced, did this, did that. Other things were filed, other reconveyances were filed, substitutions, notice of defaults, back and forth, back and forth. So it may be a little bit tricky for you to understand, but I want to make it really simple. Whenever you have your documents, you look back at whenever you signed that note that's being foreclosed on. When was that? Was that in 2006, 2007, whenever it was, 8, 9, 10? It doesn't matter. The only documents that count are those recorded after that time frame. And these are the key documents. An assignment is a document that assigns the interest in your loan, your note, and you wrote it as a loan. You signed a loan. As soon as you did that, it's now called a note by all of the lenders, and it's negotiable. It means it can be bought and sold. So when I say loan or note, I'm meaning pretty much the same thing. To you, it's a loan. You borrowed, it's a loan you're supposed to pay back. On the note, that's a lender perspective where they're buying and selling it back and forth on the market, or in most cases now, securitizing them under New York State securities law. And so this really applies to every foreclosure, but the kinds of fraud and fake documents we're going to be discussing specifically are found in any loan that was securitized. They screwed it up. They didn't do it right. And that is the point. They didn't do it right. And because they didn't do it right, to get the authority to foreclose, they created fake documents. It's basically that simple. So, an assignment is something where the owner of the note actually assigns that interest in that note to somebody else. The substitution is only going to happen in non-judicial states with deeds of trust, with that concept. There is a separate trustee, a third party involved in this transaction, and they're the ones that are supposed to hold the rights and ability to foreclose and exercise those kinds of powers. And those trustees can be substituted. They file a substitution of trustee document. That's why we call them substitutions. And so we think specifically, when you see substitution, think specifically foreclosure trustee. A notice of default, it's a lawsuit in a mortgage state. Here in non-judicial deeds of trust state, these notice of defaults aren't even notarized. They are just signed by somebody. It's pretty egregious in my opinion. They can make all kinds of false claims on the documents, which they do. And then a notice of sale, which is the second step, because in a deed of trust state, the notice of default has to count 90 days, and then they can file a notice of sale and sell it at the courthouse steps, auction. We call that a foreclosure auction, in about another 21 days. That's about as short as it can get. Often these processes drag out and out. There's maybe more than one notice of default. There may be several notices of sale. You just don't know what's going to be on your property until you go to the recorder's office and find out, and then print each one of those documents. If it's already been sold, you're going to have a trustee's deed on sale. That means you've already lost the home. Print it. Bring it back with you and do the analysis, because it's going to have a notary signature on it, it's going to have a signer's signature on it, and it's going to have a title on it. Let's see if that's a valid document. So, here we go. I want to start showing you, I'll show you the spreadsheet first, and then we're going to back up and we're going to look item by item at each one of the documents. And I've got the sample spreadsheet filled out. Hopefully it'll be easy enough to follow. This is an example of the spreadsheet that I've now linked to the website, And basically what you've got, here's the blank one, and it's your name and it's your county. I put that up there mostly for me because I do this for people and it keeps me straight. Okay, what is this property and what am I doing? These red items, this is our analysis. This is the list of violations we're going to go down, and we're going to put in the document numbers that connect with those violations. Here's document numbers. These are all the recorded documents. Here I've put deeds of trust, and you may have several. You may even have a second mortgage or even a third loan that you signed after the first, but only the one that's being foreclosed is the one that really counts. And so it's real important to know what number that is, because that number, that loan number, and it will be shown up on the deed of trust, will come up here on the document type. It'll be an assignment for a specific document number. So we look to see, if you have several of these, you'll look to see which number am I supposed to be looking for. This is why we use a spreadsheet. So the first item that we do is the deed of trust. So here's an example deed of trust. This, I want to just bring your attention to some of these items, which we're not going to really document. You don't really care. When I'm getting hundreds of these documents from people, I do care, and I will put that into the database because it does have some importance as we can sort on who actually required these documents, where did they actually go when they were filed. But nevertheless, I've highlighted those. What's really key and what's going to go into the spreadsheet is this date. This is the recording date. Here's the county. This happens to be in Mendocino County, California. Here is a document number. This is a key number because this is the number that is going to be referenced in every other foreclosure document. It'll be in the verbiage down there. We'll look for it, but this is 2006 07371. This is a deed of trust. MIN stands for MERS ID number. So here's the MIN number, in case you're interested. We're not tracking that in this. That's for other issues. But I just wanted to highlight it so that you would understand. That's where you find if you've got a MERS loan or not. So the very first page, and you only need basically the first 2 pages of this deed of trust. What we're specifically looking for in this case is the lender, and we write that into the spreadsheet. The lender, First National Bank of Arizona. That will be the lender that we will write in. And then on page 2, the next piece of information we're going to track on our deed of trust is the trustee, First American Title, and then I'm tracking, is MERS on this document or not? And so we put yes on this particular spreadsheet. However, I also wanted to point out to you that this is the smoke screen that these lenders have used to confuse and obfuscate their theft of our homes. And that is, in this definition, you look on your deed of trust and see what it says for MERS if you have MERS on it. It says 2 definitions that are completely opposing right in the same paragraph. So the first definition, it says MERS is just acting as a nominee. It's a rabbit. The second definition, right in the very next sentence, is MERS is the beneficiary. MERS is a tiger. So in this one paragraph, this is the heart and soul of the battle that owners are fighting around the country. In bankruptcy court, they tend to be more winning because those judges understand that, hey, wait a minute, how can MERS be a beneficiary and a nominee? That doesn't make any sense. And so several BK courts in several states have actually said MERS has no standing. The trouble is those judgments and those rulings don't flow into state courts and they don't flow into federal courts. So this is one of the real difficulties that people face in lawsuits with it. So now that we've got that information, let's look at it being filled out on the spreadsheet. So it's a deed of trust. It's recorded on that date, April 2006. Here is that ID number. Remember, we talked about that. Yes, it's a MERS loan. The original lender is the First National Bank of Arizona, NA, meaning it's a national bank. And the original trustee is First American Title. Okay, we're done with deeds of trust, and we only have one in this case. So the next thing we're going to look at are the rest of the documents. Oh, we're done with that one too. Here's our sample documents, and I am going to show you these documents in recorded order, but often when you go to print them out, you'll need to put them, sort them in order by date. It is very, very important that once you track these, and if you get them out of order, change the spreadsheet around so that it's in order by date recorded. Crucial. So here is the very next document that's been filed on this property, on that deed of trust. It was requested by Bank of America. Here is the document number. It was recorded in May 7, 2012. That'll be important for many reasons, as you'll see. It's an assignment of deed of trust, which means the undersigned holder of the deed of trust. So I'm reading the document. You can read these documents, and it's pretty simple to understand when you start to understand what the words mean. So the undersigned holds the deed of trust. Notice who the undersigned is. MERS. Okay, this is a MERS assignment. So MERS, and they gave the address, is going to hereby grant, sell, assign, transfer, and convey unto, and here you go. This is who gets it. So on the spreadsheet, I basically keep it simple. Who signed it? Who gets it? Because that is the key. So let me read who gets it. Bank of America N.A., that's a bank, successor by merger to BAC, Home Loans Servicing LP, FKA, formerly known as Countrywide Home Loans Servicing LP, plus the address, blah, blah, blah. Rest of it is relatively immaterial. We have the date it's signed, we have who signed it, and we have the name, the signer of the name. Now this document is in 2 pages. So the second page is the notarization. So what's really interesting here, fascinating, is that this was signed in California, the county of Ventura. That's where it's supposed to be signed. So you check this with this. This is the notary commission, and the commission is in LA. So yeah, that makes sense. That's close enough. And it's not like this notary was in Texas at the time. Those are one of the things to watch for. So they notarize this on this date. This is blank. That's interesting because they did not say, I did not blank this out. The name of the person, which was in this case Jane, was not placed in here. So my question is that valid or legal? Probably not. Nevertheless, what we're going to do is just log this information on the spreadsheet. So here's the name of the notary, Emmanuel Aluwoli Adetula, and the expiration date, because the expiration dates are very important. If it's a date that is past today's date, so like this is the end of February 2013, so the expiration date for this notary was January 17, 2013. Unless that notary renewed their commission, you can't file a claim against them. It's past. You can still use this in other manners, but filing a notary complaint with the Secretary of State doesn't count, and you can't get a bonding company because that's past. So it's important when the dates are. So let's take a look at how we've filled out this assignment. So on this, you notice we still have the deed of trust here. So the doc type is assignment, recorded on May 7, 2012. Here's the number, the date they signed it, who signed it, MERS. Who was it signed to? You just type in that whole name. It's so classic when you do this. It's so easy to see. Who's the signer? What is the title? It's an assistant secretary, and generally speaking with MERS it's almost always an assistant secretary. Here's the notary name. Here's the city, the county that it was, the notary is commissioned in. Here's the state, and here's the expiration date. Simple as that. Okay, next document. So, the next document is a corporation assignment of deed of trust and mortgage. So now, we just had an assignment, so now we have another assignment. Now, Let's look real closely again. Who requested this? Recon Trust requested this. Recon Trust. Now that's a foreclosure trustee mill. Let's look back to see who our original trustee was. Do you remember? Okay, the original trustee, well, here it is right there. First American Title. So now we've got Recon Trust. We've had no trustee substitutions happen yet. But now Recon Trust is requesting this this file, this recording. Interesting. So here's the date. Again, Mendo County. Here's the number right here at the top. This is a corporation assignment. And here is, now for value received, the undersigned. So who's the undersigned? Oh yeah, that one, that name we just typed in. Be it Bank of America, NA, successor by merger to Back Home Loan Servicing, LP, FKA, Countrywide Home Loan Servicing, LP. All right, so you type all that in. And of course, the name is Lauren Stone. Oh, there you go, assistant. Oh, now it's an assistant VP. But let's see who is getting this information. Who's getting this benefit? Who's the beneficiary? All beneficial interest goes to this entity. It's U.S. Bank National Association as trustee for CSMC Mortgage Loan Trust 2007-3. So, was signed in July 6, 2012, and it was signed, notarized by Ramon Olivas, who's signed it in Ventura. He's also commissioned in Los Angeles, and his commission expired January 5, 2013. So let's enter that information on our spreadsheet. So here we go. It's a corporation assignment, recorded when, the number, the date. Here's our signing company, looks just like that one. And here's who they signed it over to. Here's the signer, Lauren Stone. Oh, now he's an assistant VP. And here's the notary name, county, state, and expiration date. Pretty straightforward. Filling out the spreadsheet is not terribly difficult. Okay, the next document that we've got. Oh, here's a substitution of trustee. So now, oh, look who's recording this. Look who's requesting this recording. Recon Trust. Okay. And so you have to understand that Recon Trust is a foreclosure trustee. We call them mills because they generate this paperwork. Whoever's requesting that recording, they're generating the paperwork. And so they are generating, Recon Trust, the foreclosure mill, is generating these false documents. And that is the point. When the prosecutors ask me, what do you want? Here's the answer. We want injunctions against all of the foreclosure mills. That's what we want. That's what owners want. Injunctions. That means we want a judge to issue a stop order. You cannot do this anymore to all of the foreclosure mills. That's the point. So here's the document number. Here's the date. Here, it's a substitution of trustee. And it claims that the undersigned is the present beneficiary. Well, that's interesting. I thought that B of A had already sent it over to U.S. Bank. Well, now that's interesting. So there's a question. Do you understand? We're going in order. And so the assignment, we'll have to check again on the date. We'll look at our spreadsheet here when we fill this out. Oh, look at this. It's still done by Ramon Olivas. Same guy. Commission expires, same time, same place, same commission, county, LA. So now we've got here, look at that, the substitution claims that the Bank of America servicing company, and I emphasize that, actually still has beneficial interest. Except they just signed this one over. Now, isn't that interesting? We don't even have to look at when they were recorded. Let's look at the numbers, and you'll see how the numbers line up. We know for a fact that the first one recorded was this assignment, because look at the date, or look at the number, 2012, 10301. And then, after they give away beneficial interest, then they claim to have interest in it. This substitution is false because it has no benefit. The person that claims beneficial interest doesn't have beneficial interest. They just gave it away about 3 seconds before this one. This is, you notice how this is 2012, 10302. See how you could catch them? See how this is so crucial and important? This is why it's pretty exciting. And when someone emails me and says, help me, I'm almost addicted. I have to get the documents and I have to stick them on the spreadsheet, because what are we going to find? What are we going to find? We're going to find fraud for sure, and we're going to catch them in these mistakes. So, the next document, moving on. The next thing, of course, is a notice of default. Okay, so here we get serious. Recon Trust again has requested this. It's a notice of default. Here's the date, number, and most of the rest of this stuff is boilerplate. But notice how if you have any, this is so fascinating. If you want to know what you want to pay, because they're sending this to the owner, contact U.S. Bank National Association as trustee for CSMC Mortgage Loan Trust 2007-3, care of Bank of America. Now, others have told me without a doubt, when they contact U.S. National Bank as trustees, when they contact these entities as the beneficial interest in these properties, they get a resounding, absolutely not us, and I'm going to talk to B of A about that. Trust me, this is all fake. This is fake legal-looking documents to snow the owners, keep them subservient, and keep them unknowledgeable so they don't know how to fight back. So I highly recommend that you read your documents and contact. If any of your documents actually say something like this, contact that U.S. bank. And I recommend you just you get on online and you just contact the CEO's office. Start there. Tell them, oh, gee, look, and you can fax them the document or scan it and email it to them, and watch what happens, and log everything. Log it all. Now, you notice I wanted to just bring out to your attention, as you're trying to weed your way through your own documents, see here in the verbiage of the document, somewhere in there, it will discuss, here's the beneficiary, recorded, the date, and the instrument number. And so this is how you can make sure that notice of default, assignment, trustee, substitution, whatever it might be, is on the document, on the deed of trust that's being foreclosed. You always want to only focus on those documents that are being foreclosed, on the foreclosed loan. The rest of them, forget them. This focus on the ones that count. So see, here's that document number 2006-07371. All right, so now we're going to notice, going to put the notice of default on the spreadsheet. So it's an NOD, often a shortcut for that. Here's the date, here's the document number, the date it was signed, Recon Trust, NA as agent for the beneficiary. Oh yeah, let me show you their signature. We didn't get down quite to that. That's on page 3. So here you go. And I wanted to point out every last one of these notice of defaults in deeds of trust state actually claim this verbiage, which is Recon Trust has in their possession, executed and delivered to Recon Trust, such deed of trust and all documents evidencing obligations secured thereby. And I guarantee you, not one of these deeds of trust does Recon Trust have. They don't have any of that documentation. They don't care about it. I believe this is an illegal statement. We can't get much recourse out of it at this point. So I'm just pointing this out for your information. It just makes me mad. And proves that they're just a bunch of liars. And by lying, cheating, and stealing, they're making big dollars and ruining the middle class. They're snatching and thieving the assets of the middle class. That is the point. And it's been a long time being planned. It's a premeditated theft of middle class wealth and assets. You mark my words. Anyway, here's who signed Recon Trust Company NA as agent for the beneficiary. Okay, who was the beneficiary? Do you remember? Wasn't that U.S. National Bank trustee for some mortgage-backed security? So now Recon Trust is an agent for the U.S. National Bank. I don't think so. we can catch him. So notice who signed this. Lauren Stone. Look at that signature. Look at that signature. Didn't we have a Lauren Stone sign something else? Let me back up here just a bit. Oh yeah, here's a Lauren Stone signature. Do those two signatures look alike to you? They don't look alike to me. Forgery! All right, so now we're going to put on notice of default, recon trust as agent for the beneficiary. There isn't anybody signed over to, just leave it blank because this is a notice of default. It's not even notarized. Obviously not signed by the same Lauren Stone as the substitution of trustee was signed. And it's hard to say if it's the same one that signed this assignment. So this is an assistant VP for Recon Trust. So now Lauren Stone, notice this. Lauren Stone works for B of A, also for Recon Trust. We've got examples where the same person, and in fact, when I show you the suspicious signatures, we have about 15 different documents with Lauren Stone's name on it. 5 or 6 different signatures, completely different titles. Some of them notarized by the same notary on the same day. It's just truly a mess. It makes a mockery of our recordings and our document depositories, our registrars of deeds and our recorders' offices. And truly, you have some recorders stepping up and saying they have just ruined property records from the last 200 years. And I can understand why they're saying that. So I think we've got a couple more documents to fill out. So here we go. Oh, the California Declaration. This is included with notice of defaults and or notice of sale. The law states it can be either one. It's supposed to be included with any notice of default on any loan that was made between the years 2003 and 2007, and this is in California. So from January 1st, 2003 to December 31st, 2007, when those loans go into default, they have to have a California declaration recorded with them. But again, it can be recorded with a notice of sale. If it's not there, if it's missing, that does give that owner a right to file a lawsuit, and get a temporary restraining order from a judge against that lender. Again, that's relatively temporary. A lot of people look at these and say, they never contacted me, and so they feel they're false. Again, it's a little bit of leverage. It's only going to help a few people, and what you're going to get out of it may be just some temporary postponement of an auction until the lender says, oh, whoops, and records a California declaration. They can fix that paperwork. So some of these arguments don't give us very much. You'll probably get a more postponement filing an OCC complaint. Anyway, just wanted to bring that to your attention. So here's the last document we're going to consider, and then we're going to move into looking at the violations. So this is a notice of trustee sale. The notice of default takes 90 days. They've recorded this now in October 12, 2012. Again, it's Recon Trust. Here's the number. Here's the notice of trustee sale. We scroll down and we look at now who is signing this, what company. Yes, Recon Trust, the date. Oh, and now it's somebody else as an assistant VP. And of course, I want to bring to your attention, right here on this statement, it says that Recon Trust is a debt collector. A debt collector. And here's one of the aspects and issues people are working on, and that are federal lawsuits under the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, where collecting, trying to foreclose is called a collection, and that would be on unsecured. It's an unsecured debt. And there's lawsuits that are being developed as we speak in using this debt collector status against the entities filing foreclosure. Where it is, how it is, where it's gonna end up, we don't know, but we'll keep you posted. All right, so back to our recorded documents. Here we have now the let's see. This should be did I forget the notice of sale? Sorry, forgot the notice of sale. We put the notice of sale in. I thought I had that. maybe it's on my violations. Here we go. I put it on this page. Notice of sale, the recorded document, the date. It's a good 3 months afterwards, 90 days. They have some leeway in there about when they can record, but they are not allowed by law to record this more than closer to the NOD than 25 days. So you can count the days, make sure that they've, I'm sorry, not 25, 90 minus 5, 85 days. So if you 710, that would be 706 to 1006, and so it's after the 90 days. We can't get them on that. So here we go, Recon Trust again. Here's nobody's getting this. Here's the signer, there's the title, no notarization. So I want to move into the document checklist. These are issues that I've pulled directly from the owner's statement of suspicious documents, because we're tying all of this together. So and as I've done this training, I've caught some errors that I don't even have on the list. One was that this assignment gave away assigned. Once an entity gives away that right, it's over. They don't have that right anymore. And so this is a false substitution because B of A did not have the right to file it. So I'm going to add that to the list. And then, of course, I'm going to have to update all my documents because I've now added that. So I'm going to say false substitutions. Wrong beneficiary. Okay, and we'll just, so what we're going to do now is go through these documents and see what we need to do. This is your checklist, and this is the list of the problems that we're finding. So the notary names to check via the Secretary of State. Now, when I say the notary names, that means their signatures. If I'm going to the Secretary of State, then we want to know exactly what does that notary signature look like. And so we're going to go to the Secretary of State for 2 notaries, Emmanuel and Ramon. We've got Ramon on 2 documents. We don't need to go twice. So 1 and 2, we need to look at those documents to get notary oath signatures. That is their official signature. And then we can compare those signatures on our documents. You can do that for yourself. Okay, which ones need certified documents for notary complaints? The basic rule is in California, if you want to file a notary complaint, you have to have a certified notary oath. You have to have a certified signature. So you go to the Secretary of State to get the signature certified, and then you can use that to file a complaint back with the Secretary of State. Texas doesn't, I don't believe it requires certified signatures. It may. So whatever state your notary is in, check with that state. Do you need a certified signature to file a complaint? Or can you just get a copy of it from the Secretary of State and use that? In this case, in California, we would need those 2. The trouble is, they're expired. Both of these are expired. So what this person would need to do at this point in time is find out if these commissions have been renewed. So let's say check renewals. If it's been renewed and and these are different, they have new expiration dates, then you can now file bonding claims, Secretary of State notary claims. You can move forward. Otherwise, you don't have those options. Okay, which signer names do we check? Via journal entries. And so the only ones you can check on a journal entry are those that have been notarized. You have to send a little letter to the notary asking for that journal entry. And I explain this in much more detail, showing the documents and showing what we get back under notary complaints. So the names we need to check would be under document number 1. We need to check Jane, that's been notarized. We need to check 2. That's been notarized, and Lauren Stone is the same signer now on so many of these documents, and we can't check Sunita's because there is no notary. We can't get journal entries. So it's just those 2 documents. An assignment were any of these assignments recorded after the notice of default? So now that's when the date comes in to be so important. So we look here and we go, okay, assignment, sub, NOD, and we've made sure that these are all lined up in order. And we know these are all the same date, these three, but we can tell from the numbers what order they were recorded in. See, 1, 2, 3. What did I tell you? They do it just boom, boom, boom. Now, if, excuse me, if you have an assignment recorded after the notice of default, that makes your NOD void. State law is in virtually every state, the only entity that can begin a foreclosure proceeding is the person that holds the note, and that is based on the assignments. So watch, and that would be now one caveat. Remember the original lender. Well, the original lender is not on any of these, see. Now, it may be that your original lender, let's say your original lender was Bank of America, N.A., successor by merger to back home loan servicing, blah, blah, blah. Then they don't need an assignment because they already have it. They already claim they have the ownership, although we're going to talk about that in just like the next item. So if, let's say it's Wachovia. This is classic. This happens a lot. So the original lender is Wachovia. You come down here, and the company, the signing company, is Wells Fargo, successor, blah, 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 of Wachovia. Well, they don't need an assignment. No assignment needed. Nevertheless, whenever you have differing information from the original lender and the original trustee. See, the original trustee is First American Title. You don't see First American Title in here anywhere, right? And so what they've done is used MERS to get this original lender off the books. So B of A person sticks on a MERS hat and said, Jane signed this. So Jane sticks on MERS hat, says, oh, boop, now I'm a corporate officer of MERS, and under that I'm going to assign to the company I work for this interest in this note. So boom, that's how B of A gets on title, gets on ownership of the note. I don't want to say title because that's too confusing. People think that's on title of the property ownership. No. The owner, still own the property. This is all the mishmash of the loans and the notes. So B of A is now on the ownership of the holder of the note, theoretically. And so then they use that position to do an assignment, which is really crazy. What they should have done is assigned Recon Trust. This is the substitution. They should have substituted first. See, this is the substitution, and then assigned. But, oh no, they assigned first and then did the substitution. So that substitution is completely fake. It's fake. It's a lie. Looks legal, looks official, would be missed by most people unless you do this little spreadsheet. That's why I love it. Okay, so any assignments after notice of default? No. In this case, the assignments were done before. Maybe incorrectly, but they were done before. Servicer as assignee. That's illegal. It is illegal for the servicer to assign themselves as a beneficiary. I've quoted that law. It's on the owner's statement of suspicious documents, and it's 15 U.S.C. something. I forget the number. This is illegal to do. Now, this one is very plain. Obviously, this is a successor by merger to back home loans. That's a servicer, which was a servicer from the beginning, countrywide. So now you've got Bank of America, they're trying to hide that we're just a servicer, but they are just a servicer, and they are assigning this to themselves, and it is illegal according to federal law. So, servicer as assignee beneficiary. Well, let's see. They did that on document number 1. They did it on document number 2, and they did it on document number 3. So all 3 of those qualify as illegal and violating U.S. federal law. All right, an impossible beneficiary. Okay, an impossible beneficiary is something like the U.S. Bank National Association as trustee for the mortgage-backed security. It's impossible. If even if it was done legally, they would have had at least 4 assignments marking the transition from various entities, and it would not be the trustee for the mortgage, and it would have been done prior to 2012. It would have had to have been done. Let's review when this loan was done. Here we go. There we go, 2006 in 4. So they have like 90 days to 180 days. It depends. Some states are 90, look at the pooling and servicing agreements, to get all of their assignments done correctly that they're going to need in the future. Did they do it? No. Not one of these said anything about being done in 2006 and being signed by the correct parties of 2006. So the impossible beneficiary would be number 2. How about a fake title, like an attorney in fact? Well, I don't see on these, there are no attorneys in fact. They are just, so if you have one, then there has to be a verifiable power of attorney filed on record in that county. This doesn't have any fake titles. So if on your documents anywhere you have an attorney in fact, you verify that that is actually valid by going to the county and making sure that there's a power of attorney filed by that entity for whatever they claim to be. So often it'll be something like LSI, agent for beneficiary as attorney in fact. And it'll be under, like bank home loans, whatever it is, and it's in the signing. It's in this category. It's signing the name, and then they'll use attorney in fact. And if there is an attorney in fact on your recorded documents, and there is no power of attorney recorded in the county, then definitely it's violated that. It's a fake document. Okay, violation of the trust, mortgage-backed security trust cutoff date. Well, we already looked at that, was 2006. So, any assignments filed after the trust cutoff date, and we can just say anytime in 2006. It works for me because these were all done in 2012. So we have years and years and years later they're doing this. So we're going to call this document 1 and document number 2. I just got some kind of a message. I don't know what it is. I'm going to finish this workshop first. So here's the violation of the mortgage-backed trust cutoff date. Documents 1 and 2 did that. Did they use any defunct lender in any way? So are these defunct lenders? No. The kind of defunct lender I'm thinking about are companies that did the loan and no longer exist. They filed bankruptcy, they're gone, it's over, and yet their names are showing up on the documents. You can actually discover if they're still active by going to the Secretary of Corporations website and checking on that corporation. But in this case, there were none. We didn't see any sign of that here. MERS. Is MERS an entity being used on the document? Well, absolutely. Number 1 did. And there are rulings coming down more and more which says, okay, all right, the deed of trust says MERS. It's a nominee for the beneficiary and it's a beneficial whatever it says, on the deed of trust. But it only allows MERS to manipulate, if you will, to assign and work with the deed of trust, not the note. So there's some lawsuits that are being tried by basically are getting rulings saying MERS has no authority to do anything with the notes, which would make all of these illegal because MERS actually states that for beneficial interest in the note, and I'm assigning, they claim, the deed of trust and the note together over to this other entity. Okay, now I want to talk about the violations after the Department of Real Estate, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. This is the OCC violations. I'm going to add that because in April 13, 2011, the OCC issued cease and desist orders. I've talked about it. It's on the website. You can look it up. And so the cease and desist said, you're going to stop robo-signing, you're going to stop forging documents, you're going to stop using fake titles, you're going to stop using false notarizations. And these 11 servicers said, okay, we're going to stop. Okay, now, as we look down these, and as you will discover, Lawrence Stone is definitely a forgery. We're not sure about the notaries, but we also know that all of these documents, this is a fake title. It's illegal. So every one of these documents that were recorded after April 13, 2011 violate that. So which ones are they? Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of them. And here's violations after last year. This is now the Department of Justice, the DOJ. And they had consent judgments, and all of those are linked to the website. And it says, okay, this would be after April 4. So this one was filed April 1st, so the rest of them violated because they all are using fake documents. They have no substance. You know that the notice of sale has to be on a valid notice of default. The notice of default is invalid because the trustee's substitution is invalid. That gave Recon Trust the authority. This bank is saying, okay, I'm going to give away all the interest in the note to this other entity, U.S. Bank National Association. Oh, wait. Okay, after I did that, but don't look closely. I'm going to now, substitute the trustee, even though I'm not the beneficial owner anymore. So every one of these documents is fraudulent. This is the problem that the owners face. And this is one of the things I want to point out in lawsuits. When you go into any lawsuit other than quiet title action, my understanding is the recorded documents, just what we're looking at, are presumed to be accurate. And that's the problem. They're not. The owners are saying, wait a minute, this is fraudulent and forgery, and the judge says they're presumed to be accurate. Get out. And so the owners are going, The only time that these documents are not presumed to be accurate in a legal court of law is under quiet title action. I've had people actually say every owner in the country needs to file quiet title, and like right now, because all of this stuff is so forged, so fake, such a mess. And this is why recorders that really understand, and even those that don't step up, I want to tell you, I already know personally, they are rooting for the owners. They want this to stop. They feel powerless. They have to get these documents and they have to record them, and they know they're fake and fraudulent. They can't do anything about it. It's up to us, the owners, to do something about it. So the ones that violated the DOJ are those four. And of course, the false substitution, that would be the document number 3. Now, this is the building block. This is the foundation of going down the checklist, looking at what you've got. If you have any questions, just email them. We'll be able to answer them quickly. I think you'll be able to answer them yourself after this workshop. And this is the basis for the next efforts: filing a notary complaint, proving forged signatures, and then filling out the owner's statement of suspicious documents so that we can actually flood the media, our prosecutors, our district attorneys, our attorney generals with so many packages, hundreds of thousands of packages from owners proving forgery and fraud, that they can't cover it up anymore, because that is the point. Okay, I've got something that's I haven't even logged into Skype. Show this link. Okay. All right, Renee. I'm going to show this link. Hold tight, guys. Let me see what this looks like. She says it's just a must. Watch Recon Trust Robo-Signers Part 3. All right. Admission of forgery and notary fraud, Bank of America, its business partner, Recon Trust, the purported substituted trustee, what did I tell you? And Courtney Bullard, an employee of Recon Trust, openly admitted to have executed and recorded at Denton County Land Records an affidavit that contains a forged signature that was notarized by someone posing as a Texas notary at the time the affidavit was notarized. Okay, no news to me. This is what they're doing. But the news is, take this, do your documents, get every owner you know, everyone facing foreclosure, whether they've lost the home already, whether they're facing home loss. If they've got these recorded documents, you pass this link on to them. You spread this word, because every last one of us, as we unite, I mean, I can send mine, she can send hers, 3 people can send them. That's what the media is going to do. You get 300,000 of these, they're going to pay attention. And that's the goal. All right. Thanks, Renee. Let's watch this. She says we got to watch it. Go ahead. Let's see. Now, what you need to understand, thank you, Renee, for that. I wanted to point out that that was done in 2008. And since then, I want to show you how many foreclosures Recon Trust has done in the state of California. Look at this. 578,952 have Recon Trust as the foreclosure trustee. Here's the issue that we're fighting, guys. And what we're fighting is this. They do it. They get caught on one issue, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is the point. Until we make it matter, it isn't going to matter. And the only way we can make it matter is in bulk. That person wins, maybe gets the house, whatever, gets a settlement, and it's forgery and fraud. And yeah, this is the problem. We all know this is what they're doing. Without a doubt, we know this is what they're doing. How do we stop them? We have to stop them for everybody. We must get them stopped. And the only way I know to break through this media blackout, because that's what it is, it's a media blackout, is to get thousands and thousands and thousands of people to do this, to do these packages, to put their documents together. Even if all you do is just that, you just have that spreadsheet and you send it to your district attorney. That's a start. That's better than nothing. Let's send those right away. As soon as you fill them out, let's send them to the district attorney. Send them to me, and I will forward them to the state attorney generals. I don't care what state you're in, send them to me. We'll forward them. Let's start making a ruckus. The only way we're going to be able to have not just one little video about, look at this forgery and they've admitted to fraud, because they can say, oh, well, that was just that one exception, that was just that one bad person. And no, we need to show a system, a systematic, this is a process. This is a conspiracy and a RICO act. They've worked together to do this, but you can only do that. You can only give that kind of information to a prosecutor with hundreds and hundreds and thousands, if not millions of examples. So let's swamp them. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. And very, very good luck to you. Please keep us posted about your efforts in your battle and send us your documents so that we can combine them with everybody else's documents, helping others, helping ourselves. This is CJ Holmes signing off for Homeowners for Justice. Thank you.